17th, 2004, just 3 years ago today, was an historic day here in Massachusetts. That was the day the first same-sex marriages were legally granted in the state after an emotionally charged battle. My guests today are out with a new book documenting the journey. Courting Equality is the name of the book. It features more than 100 photographs by Marilyn Humphreys, detailing the events leading to the legalization of gay marriage in the Commonwealth. Authors Patricia Gazemba and Karen Kahn are here. They're longtime gay rights activists, and they are married. Welcome and congratulations. I guess and a happy anniversary is a fair way to put it, too. For those who haven't seen Courting Equality, what are you doing here? Where do you take us from where and to where?
Well, what we do, the inspiration for the book was really the November 18th, 2003 decision of the Supreme Judicial Court, which recognized that we do have constitutional rights.
The Goodrich decision.
The Goodrich decision.
And they have been on this stage many a time, I should say. Has many of the other, what was it, 8 couples were involved in that?
7 couples together,
okay,
yeah. And what we were both so impressed by that astounding decision. I say astounding because it has been a long time since we have had courts recognize the rights that we really need to exist as Byron Rushing loves to say, we the people, you know. So in the book, we actually take people from November 18th, 2003 through January 2nd, 2007, when our legislature voted for the first time to put a constitutional amendment on the ballot. They will have to vote a second time, but that was the first vote. And then, as part of the book, we also take people back to the 1970s, when then the newly elected Representative Barney Frank promised that when he was
the same Barney Frank, by the way, if you're not aware. But go ahead.
The same Barney Frank, who said that if he got elected, one of the first things he would do when he got into the legislature was file a gay rights bill. And he did file it, and it took exactly 17 years for that bill to pass.
1989.
That's right.
A woman I work with a lot on tax and budget issues, actually Arlene Isaacson, stood on the stage, works for the Mass Teachers Association and a lot of the gay and the lesbian rights organizations, that stood up on the day that civil rights bill was signed. What did that do? How did that help move the process forward?
Well, that was an extremely important moment. Massachusetts was only the second state in the country to pass a civil rights bill for gay and lesbian people.
What was the first?
The first was Wisconsin.
Okay.
It was a couple of years earlier, but many bills had been introduced early in the 70s, just like here in Massachusetts. Connecticut introduced one very early as well. But passing that bill established, I think, a floor, and it said gay people really do have rights of citizens in this country. The thing it didn't do, though, was establish any kind of family recognition rights, and that became the next battle for gay and lesbian people.
And what took so long? A lot of people who watched that ceremony in 1989, and it's one of those things where I think I was there. You know how everybody thinks they were at the March on Washington with Martin Luther King? You can't remember? Well, I know I was in the State House building that day. I'm not sure if I was there. What people were talking about was this is not just an important step. It's going to let loose the floodgates, and all good things are going to happen. Well, it was a decade and a half later until the SJC had to act, in great part, they say, because the legislature didn't. Why did nothing happen in that interview? I don't mean nothing. Why did no legislative action happen in the next decade or so?
Actually, quite a bit happened. I think
like
that's
what?
One thing to be sure. A number of towns in Massachusetts, for example, passed domestic partnership laws. So Lotus actually was the first private company in the country, I believe, to pass a domestic to
apply to their own employees, right?
Apply to their own employees, and then Cambridge, Brookline, some towns in Western Mass, all passed local initiatives where they gave at least their city employees some form of family recognition. People could get health care benefits. They could get, days off if their partner was sick.
But
so those were very important. But in the legislature, there was another problem.
We
had leadership that was really against gay relationships. They really did not want to move that legislation forward. So it was introduced again and again, I think in 1993, so only 4 years after the 1989 victory. Arlene Isaacson was, in fact, up on Beacon Hill talking about why partnership benefits were really important to gay people. She used an analogy that was an economic analogy about if I was sitting here and, I had been employed 1 month and my partner was a man, he would get my health care benefits. But I was sitting here and I had been employed 20 years and my partner was a woman, that she could never get those benefits, and that was an economic injustice.
Our phone number is 617-244-3344. It is the anniversary, as you know, the third anniversary of the same-sex marriages, first same-sex marriages legally entered into in this country, right here in the Commonwealth. But when you hear people say, we've had, and we will continue to have as the CON approaches, scores of debates on this stage, on this very set, between those who support gay marriage, those who oppose gay marriage. Many of the opponents have said here, I'm not crazy about the concept. However, I could have lived with the concept had the legislature, the people I elected, done it. I wouldn't have gone home happy, but I would have gone home saying the small d democratic process prevailed. What upsets me, say they, is these unelected judges by this narrowest of margins, 4-3, allegedly led around by the nose by Margie Marshall, the Chief Justice. Well, that's what they say, that she made law. What do you think about the argument that had the legislature stood up and acted, that maybe we wouldn't be in the current situation we are on this anniversary date?
Well, I think courts have stepped in numbers of times to pass law, to hand down decisions, interpretations, when legislatures have been unwilling to act. I mean, for many years, the Senate, the Massachusetts Senate, approved civil unions bills. And I think it wasn't called civil unions. That hadn't been invented by our neighbors to the north, Vermonters. But they passed bills that essentially gave all of the rights and privileges of marriage in the Senate.
What did they call it, by the way?
They were calling it domestic partnership.
Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, when Tom Finneran at the Constitutional Convention in 2004, February 11th, 2004, when he got up and made his surprise amendment, I mean, Brian Lees, who's
a Republican state senator from Springfield,
a minority leader, Brian Lees was floored because as he pointed out, for years the Senate has been really taking up the issue that is an issue of equity before us, and the House has been intransigent, dragging its feet, unwilling to deal with this issue. And largely it was because of the leadership of Tom Finneran for those many years that it was blocked.
Then Speaker of the House.
So what could you do? I mean, we had tried everything. We had lobbied in good faith. We had great leadership. We had started in 1989, right after the Civil Rights Bill was passed, to try to get the rest of the rights that we felt that we needed. Many of us had done it through all kinds of avenues. For instance, union contracts, trying to get through union contracts medical benefits for our partners, et cetera. So I think that we needed to do it. And I feel that before this spring is over, we're going to see the legislature approving, tacitly approving by rejecting that constitutional amendment.
And there's an article on the front page of the Boston Globe today, again, which I'm sure we will be debating here nonstop in the coming weeks, saying that there are maybe a handful of votes over the 50 needed that still support the amendment banning gay marriage, and arguably, allegedly, Terry Murray, the Senate President, Sal DeMacy, the Speaker of the House, and Governor Deval Patrick are working hard to bring that under 50, in which case the thing would die. In any case, we're not here so much to debate the constitutional amendment today. If you can't control yourself, that is fine. We're here to talk about the history, how we got here. How has this decision affected your life? It's 3 years now since those first gay marriages were celebrated in actually my hometown of Cambridge. What's it done to your life? What has it done to this state? What has it meant for this country? Give us a buzz, 617-244-3344.